All right, guys, today we are talking about a very important crime in Oklahoma, one that makes up a good portion of my practice here and something you need to be concerned about. All right, guys, Lee Berlin, Oklahoma's only private attorney that devotes his entire practice to sex crimes, crimes against children, and domestic assault and battery, those things that we call the special victim cases, and that's all I do. And today we're talking about lewd molestation in Oklahoma. What is it? How does it affect you, and why is it something that you need to be concerned about? All right, first off, you're going to find this right here in Oklahoma under 21 OS 1123. That's the statute. That's a fancy way of saying here's where the law is. And in that law, it's going to tell you that if the victim is 13, 14, 15 years old, that the range of punishment is going to be from 3 years in prison up to 20 years in prison per count. And if, in that particular case, that victim is under the age of 12, mandatory minimum range of punishment of 25 to life. So gentlemen, if you're accused of molesting an 11-year-old boy or girl, that's a mandatory minimum of 25 to life. However, if they're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, it's 3 to 20, and that is per count. Now, in Oklahoma, lots of different ways. It's amazing all the different ways that you can be charged with lewd molestation. But inside that lewd molestation statute, there's really 4 ways that we see it most often. And one of them, this last one, I actually have a separate and distinct video on. So we'll address it, we'll talk about it, but it's going to be short. So the first way that you can look at seeing a lewd molestation case in Oklahoma, or you yourself might be charged with one, is if you were accused of touching, mauling, feeling the body or private parts of a minor, someone under the age of 16, okay, and that's critical, they have to be under the age of 16, in a lewd or lascivious manner, okay, that means evincing or showing an eagerness for sexual indulgence. So that touching, mauling, feeling, or even looking upon, okay, the statute even says looking upon the body or private parts of a child under the age of 16 in a lewd or lascivious manner. So if you touch a child in a sexual manner, okay, even if it is not their private parts, it says body or private parts in a lewd or lascivious manner. Okay. Lee, what do you mean by that? This is geeking this thing out, okay, to a whole new level. Back when I was in high school, I had to take French too. I was part of the college prep stuff, and they didn't have Spanish. But one of these movies that we had to watch, and this would be back in like 86, 87, was this French movie called Claire's Knee. And it was about this guy that just had this just fetish for knees. That was his thing. But not just any knees. Knees of pubescent children, teenage girls. Well, that crap might be okay in France, but here, okay, you touch Claire's knee, and Claire's under 16, and you do it in a lewd or lascivious manner because, well, that's what blows your skirt up, so to speak. Well, guess what, guys? That in Oklahoma is lewd molestation. Okay. But really, what are we talking about? We're talking about if you touch the breasts, the vagina, the buttocks, the inside of the thighs, the private areas of a boy or a girl, a minor. You're looking at lewd molestation in Oklahoma. Now, if that person is 16 or older and you touch them in a lewd or lascivious manner, okay, without their consent, okay, that's a little bit different. The consent factor changes when they become 16. It's not lewd molestation. It's sexual battery in Oklahoma, okay, because that person is now 16, the age of consent. Lewd molestation doesn't apply. So if you touch a 16-year-old in the body or private parts in a lewd or lascivious manner, eagerness for sexual indulgence, you aren't going to be facing a lewd molestation charge. You're going to be facing a sexual battery charge. Okay. So next is if you forced the child to touch you or someone else, their body or private parts in a lewd and lascivious manner. So if you get a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old boy or girl to touch you or someone else in a sexual manner, their body or private parts, that's another way. The other one, you force the child to view a sex act or the private parts of another. So, as we have our indecent exposure video, we talk about the park flasher. So if you're a jogger and you're running through the park, some guy comes out of the bushes in a trench coat, flashes you. That guy's on the hook for an indecent exposure charge. Okay. If he does it to someone that's under the age of 16, though, he's not looking at an indecent exposure charge. He's looking at lewd molestation. If you take pictures of your body and private parts and you show them to someone else, okay, force that child to view that naked body, lewd molestation. If you have them watch a sex act, you masturbating, someone else masturbating, actual sexual activity, boom, lewd molestation. Finally, I say finally, is what we see most often, not as the sum total of all the lewd molestation charges, lewd proposal to a minor. We see this a lot, where they're communicating over the internet, through social media, the telephones, where they're communicating with a minor and there is a proposal for that minor to engage in sexual intercourse with that individual, or to secret that person to another secret location to meet you or someone else for the purposes of sex. It's that proposal, indecent proposal, if you will, to a minor. Separate video in and of itself, but very often it's charged. Now, lewd molestation only exists for minors under the age of 16, under the age of consent. If the person's reached the age of consent, it's impossible for them to be charged with lewd molestation, or the defendant to be charged with lewd molestation if the victim is 16 or older, because the statute doesn't allow it. It is only designed for individuals up to the age of 15 for the victim class. Now, do we see cases where the victim is now over the age of 16 and the defendant is being charged with lewd molestation? Yes, but that's not for conduct that was committed against the victim after they had reached the age of consent at 16. It's really for conduct that occurred when they were 14, 15, or younger. Okay. Here, the important point is the age of 12 again for sentencing purposes. 12 and older, 3 to 20, under 12, 25 to life. Guys, I'm just trying to keep one guy out of jail with this video today. And I hope we can do it. If you've been charged or you're under investigation, falsely or otherwise, for lewd molestation, rule number 1, don't talk to the cops. Pick up the phone, call Oklahoma's only attorney dedicated to the one issue, the one problem that you have right now. Till the next one, guys.